Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Taylor. You can call me the Nat Trap Saver. A little bit of quick background about myself for anyone who might be new here today. I am a new mama. I'm currently on a 1-year maternity leave in Canada. Outside of my maternity leave, I work in the tech industry and I am using my YouTube channel to document my journey towards financial abundance utilizing cash stuffing. I thought I would try something a little bit different today and kind of give you guys a little bit of my take on some budgeting for beginners tips. Now, while I'm doing that, I'm going to be playing in the budgeting community what is known as Tiny Tuesday, but I kind of just thought a lot of my existing videos would appeal to people that are already in the budgeting community, but I thought maybe giving some tips for beginners, things that I didn't know when I was getting started, would be helpful to draw some new people in and show you what the cash budgeting community is all about. So today I'm going to be talking about sinking funds for dummies or ultra beginners. And I first started watching cash budgeting videos about a year ago. And actually, sorry, I'm just going to go ahead. We're going to start my games. And the games I'm playing are to help me establish my sinking funds. So when I first started cash budgeting about a year ago, I was watching people stuffing their cash envelopes and their sinking funds binders, and I didn't know what a sinking fund was. So it may seem silly, and I think a lot of people do, but I think, it's definitely, there's nothing wrong if you don't know what a sinking fund is. So I'm not going to, give you guys a fancy definition. If you want the definition of a sinking fund, Google it. It's going to come up in 30 seconds. I'm going to try and give you guys some more like practical advice on how you can actually start utilizing sinking funds and applying them to your everyday life. And myself, I'm a millennial. I'm in my early 30s, so I'm kind of going about this from that specific lens. Oh, no, did not mean to do that. So basically what a sinking fund allows you to do is pre-plan for some of your expenses throughout the year. So common things that people might set up sinking funds expenses for, or sinking funds for rather, are things like your car related expenses. If you know every year you take your pets to the vet and it's going to cost you $500, that's something you can set up a sinking fund for and budget for that expense throughout the year. This isn't one of my sinking funds updates, but I'll just quickly put in the frame here my sinking funds tracker, and that, as you can see, is from a July pay period. But some of the things that I have my sinking funds on my tracker for is Ella, who is my daughter. So if you have children, I'm sure you're going to know that these sort of expenses come out frequently throughout the year. Household related expenses, Christmas, birthday gifts that might be coming up throughout the year. And then I have some more fun things on here as well, which makes my budgeting experience more fun. Like getting my hair done is something I know is an expense that I choose to undertake a few times a year. So I have that on my sinking funds. So basically, a great way to get started is to just set up a few categories for your sinking funds. Oh, I didn't cross these things off. So, you don't have to start off with a lot of categories to make it overwhelming for yourself. Start off with a couple, maybe think of 5 things that are, for certain are going to be expenses for you. If you have an expensive trip coming up, and that's going to cost you a couple $1,000, break that down into whatever way makes the most sense for you. And I'm just finishing my challenge. So the way that I choose to manage my sinking funds and my budget is to utilize cash stuffing, which is part of what I'm doing here right now. And basically I play these fun games, and as I'm finishing these games, I'll put the money from the finished challenges into my sinking funds. And I also, on my channel here, I do separate sinking funds update videos. So I'll link a couple of those below if you want to see the more like practical application of how I go about stuffing money into my sinking funds and kind of my thought process behind it. But I just thought, while I'm doing this specific series here, while I'm playing what these are called tinies, they're smaller savings challenge games that rather than just some of the rambling and life updates that I've been doing, I thought I would use this just more of a like really casual how-to conversation. So yeah, I was saying, maybe looking into setting up 5 categories as a way to get started. If you're new to this, you don't have to have a sinking fund necessarily for everything right away. Like, you don't need to go from 0 to 100. I would recommend getting some sort of a tracker or making some sort of a tracker. So this tracker that I use is an Etsy template. I always have it linked in my link tree, which is linked in my video description. I have no affiliation with the person who created this tracker. That being said, you can also create your own on, and just an Excel template or something to that effect as well. So just going ahead here, and I've finished quite a few of these challenges here today. So I'm going to put an extra one over here. Yeah, so basically my point is it's not all about going from 0 to 100 right off the bat. You need to decide what's going to work best for you. But ultimately, like I said, if you can think of 5 things throughout the year that you are for certain are going to be an expense for you, and basically say, okay, I've got an expense. It's going to be, $6,000 this year. I'm taking my family on a really expensive vacation to Europe. And so, every month you need to save $500 for that. Therefore, every pay period, you're putting $250 away for that expense. And you basically just establish a habit of putting $250 every pay period away into that sinking fund. And when you do this, particularly for things that are not as large as a $6,000 vacation, but if you do it for smaller things, for example, I set up a Christmas saving goal of $700, and I've been plugging away at that since July. I really haven't missed that money at all going into my sinking funds. And as a result, I'm not stressed at all about money this time of year, even though I am on a maternity leave and I am on a reduced income this year. I have that money all put away, which is an awesome feeling. So I'm just going to tuck these challenges away. We're going to pull out some games and we'll continue this chit chat. So just give me 1 second. All right, I'm back with my games and we'll just continue our chit chat about sinking funds here. So with establishing your sinking funds, like I'm saying, sort of as my beginner's recommendation, I would look into 5 categories maybe that you can start budgeting and saving for. And then the other thing that I am going to recommend is I highly recommend cash budgeting as a starting point with your sinking funds. I started cash budgeting, I think it was like last December was when I started cash budgeting. And I remember it very vividly. I remember my mom was telling me that she had started watching these cash budgeters. And I was actually on a business trip for work, and I was, in a hotel room by myself. And I was like, okay, I'm going to start watching a few of these videos. And I just got hooked. And one thing, if you haven't, nowadays people just don't use cash. When I started paying for a lot more things in cash, I was shocked at tellers or that have had or cashiers having a hard time making change, and they just look shocked when you hand them cash nowadays. It's really shocking. Back in my day, like my first job was at McDonald's. It was much more common than it is now, and I'm certain that's probably largely an outcome of COVID and whatnot as well. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, but basically, we've kind of forgotten what it's like to pay for things with cash. And there's something about handing over physical cash or holding physical cash that makes you feel differently about your money. And so if you've gotten out of touch with using cash, I would highly, highly recommend. And you don't have to do it for everything. I don't use cash for everything, but it has made such a big difference in my journey. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, $6. And I can see if I can find it, and I'll link it down below. Dave Ramsey had a really great video clip. It was a segment on his podcast, and he was having a conversation just sort of about basically the impact of using cash versus using a credit card versus using, oh, sorry, should I be marking these off? No, it's okay. 1, 2, 3, 8. 8, 8, 8. You know what? Sorry, it's hard when I'm talking and doing this at the same time. I think I'm going to leave it there, which is where I left my rolls because I want to play my other game too, and I'm getting low on money. So we're going to stop at that. Yeah, so he has a really good, I think it's like a 6-minute video or something like that. It's very short, less than 10 minutes for sure. And he just sort of talks about, the impact of paying with cash as opposed to paying with a Visa versus paying with Apple Pay. It is completely different. 2 and 2, we got our villain, and that might be where we need to stop today. 1, 2, let's see if I have $10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. $10 on the dot. How perfect is that? And we can cross out our villain. So with this game, I'll just say, because actually I think I'm going to finish this game. Oh, no, I have one more villain. So we have one more villain to finish on this game. Crowley DeVille, our last villain. Anyway, so this was kind of a different approach that I took to filming my Tiny Tuesdays. So I'll kind of see how this goes and decide if I want to keep, just using this as a chit chat for more like beginners to the budgeting community. We'll see how I feel about it when I watch it back. But either way, I hope you all have an amazing rest of your week. If you haven't already, I would really appreciate it if you would consider subscribing to my channel. And I will see you all again very soon. Bye, everyone.